What's up, guys? Eli here, back for another video. I got another vinyl video for you, in the same vein as the last ones I've been doing. In the background, we're listening to Louis do that, and Erna from Italy. Album's called Iter ad Lucem, to the best of my knowledge. Erna is a kind of like, I guess they're described as like a kind of a black funeral doom, and really fucking good. They have 3 albums, I believe. They share members with some other good bands. Really fucking good. I don't listen to a lot of shit of this style, but if we're gonna talk about this style, this band is at the top of the list. Really fucking good. Atmosphere is all over the place. It's amazing stuff. I recommend all their albums, not just this one. Drinking coffee out of one of those big random coffee cups you find in your cabinet as a gift or something. Yeah, it is the only clean one. So yeah, it's as big as my head, but I need it because I'm fucking always tired. Off work today, so yeah, I slept in until about noon, and so now I need coffee to make up for fill in that void of guilt that you have when you oversleep. Anyways, let's get on with the music. That's why you guys are here, not to hear me ramble on about shit. Let me put my coffee down. 10 records. You may have seen some of these before, so I apologize if this is boring for you, but I think most of you should be in the clear. This is pretty much all prog stuff. Yeah, because I mean, for the most part, I have my vinyl somewhat categorized. We're going to start with Genesis, Wind and Wuthering. And as you can see, this jacket has seen better days. It's old as hell. This is Phil Collins era Genesis. Yeah, nothing special, just printed inner sleeve, black vinyl, of course. This is, yeah, like I said, Phil Collins era Genesis. I don't remember. I'm not too 76, 78. I can't remember nor read that, but it's a good album. I think for this album kind of still retains some of the earlier Genesis sound. It's not quite as not nearly, should I say, as poppy as the Phil Collins era Genesis would go. They of course went in that direction more and more with each album, but this album is a little bit more in the actual progressive vein. Not quite Invisible Touch yet. Good album, I like it. One of my favorites of that era, I guess you could say. Not one of my favorite Genesis albums, but it's somewhere in the middle, I'd say. Next, we have Genesis going in that direction that I was talking about, the pop direction. They sure embraced it on this one. However, still writing some pretty decent songs, I thought. Abacab, very, very 80s album cover. Oh man, yeah. 81 this album would come out, and like I said, it's yeah, I kind of have always called this album like progressive pop. It's definitely a pop record, but it still has some of the lingering progressive elements that probably just kind of were just kind of in their DNA for songwriting. I think they were strictly going for a pop album, but like I said, their songwriting style, I think, retains some progressive elements. But it's by and large, it's definitely a pop album. Next, I have another version of the same record. I think they made 4 different covers for this album, if I remember correctly. I don't know why at all, because they're just different colors, and not even, I mean, barely different colors. I want to say they called it like A, B, C, and D, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong. I know I've seen Scott Waters talk about it. Anyways, I ended up with 2. Not intentionally, it just happened. I can't remember why. I think I forgot I had it or something like that. I have this album on all formats. The boys. But yeah, I like this album. I don't listen to it as much as I once did, but I still when I'm in the mood for poppy Genesis, it definitely hits the spot. I do like this album a lot, and as you guys know, or as some of you may know if you pay attention, I do like that poppy Phil Collins era Genesis, man. I'm not gonna apologize for that. I did not grow up in the '70s like some of you might have, so I mean, had these albums came out, as I was listening to the band, I might feel differently. Of course, we judge bands differently when they've already put out their whole body of work by the time we discover them. I was born in '82. I didn't really even get into Genesis, with the exception of Invisible Touch, until the last, 10 years or less. So anyways, I had their entire back catalog to go through, and you feel differently when you listen to music that way, as to where if any of you guys were, at the right age as these records came out, it's entirely different. It took me years to discover that. I always wondered why, I was a little bit more lenient on records than the older guys that were, there when they came out. I always wondered, why are our opinions so different? Why do I give some of these records a pass when these guys don't? And as I got a little bit older, it made sense to me. I guess it might be a good thing. I mean, yeah, I didn't get to enjoy these records being new releases. That was probably pretty fucking exciting. Not just these records, but all the records that I missed. That must have been really fucking exciting to enjoy them as they came out. Go buy them as new releases. I missed out on that, but I guess I also got to look at some bands' discographies with a bit of more of an open mind. So I guess you win some, you lose some. Next, and yeah, these aren't really necessarily in order. They're in order by bands, but sometimes I mix up the the release date order, whatever you want to call it. All right, we got the self-titled Genesis right here. This is a great album. This is a lot of people consider this a really good combination of older and newer, if you want to put it bluntly, Genesis. You kind of get the best of both worlds. And I wouldn't disagree with that. There's some complex proggy stuff on here, and then there's the Phil Collins led poppy stuff. I do like this album too. I like most of their albums. I like all of them really. Yeah. This one is. I probably like this a little bit more than Abacab and a little bit more than Duke maybe. There's good songwriting going on here. It's got Genesis doing some kind of stuff that was new to them. They weren't. I don't feel like Genesis really ever repeated themselves, though. They did a pretty good job, as any progressive band should do, at maybe reinventing themselves on every album. I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but you know what I mean. This is 1983, and now we have. This is the last Genesis record I have that I haven't shown in this video, or the last one. Yep. 3 Sides Live. Great live album this one is. It's a double gatefold. So. Would have loved to have seen Genesis live. Once again, due to my age, that never happened, and it likely never will. Yeah, just standard black vinyl. All that. They don't. There's not even printed inner sleeves or anything. I don't have the insert anymore either. But anyways, it's a great live album. If you like live albums, this is a good one for you to get. Now we have, I wish I had more of this band stuff, because I really dig this band, Gentle Giant. A lot of you guys will know this name. If you're into prog, you know it, absolutely. This is, once again, going to that kind of poppy era of progressive metal, or progressive rock. Basically, all of the the bands from the '70s, when the '80s started, they pretty much prog was kind of going out of style. It was mainstream pretty much in the '70s. So, I mean, bands like Yes and Genesis actually became stars from that music. It was widely liked, but I'm no expert on this. I was barely alive when this shit happened, but once the '80s you know, turn of the decade, it wasn't quite that way. All these bands started to go in a more pop direction to stay relevant. And to be honest, I yeah, that sucks that they had to do that, but I like some of this. I like the sound that some of these bands had. Like I like some of the poppier sides of Yes. Some of it's not so good though, but when it's good, it's good, and when it's bad, it's pretty bad. I guess. I mean, like with any music. But anyways, this was the album for Gentle Giant when they started to change into more of a pop direction. This was 1980, but still a very good album. I really like this. It's much different than their early stuff, but you know, it still retains some of the Gentle Giant signatures. Because I mean, even in the world of prog, they were very unique. No band sounded like Gentle Giant, and they sounded like no band. They had their own thing. I always struggle to remember where they're from. I want to say either Canada or England, but I'm not even sure about that. Maybe one of you guys will tell me. I could jump on my phone and look it up, but I'm not going to do that right in front of you guys because that would just be a waste of time. But anyways, they're a great band nonetheless. If you're a prog fan, like I said, you likely know them, but if you're maybe just getting into prog more or less like me, look into their earlier work, man, and give it a listen with an open mind. And yeah, I mean, very unique stuff. I've shown this in a collection update not that long ago, but you know, for those of you that didn't see that, here's the debut album from UK, self-titled album, promotional copy, obviously, which sucks, but whatever. I got it for a couple bucks. Great album, a great band. They had 2 albums, both fantastic. It was basically like a prog supergroup. You had John Wetton on vocals and bass. You had Alan Holdsworth on guitars, and you had Bill Bruford doing all the drums and percussion. And I mean, if that doesn't make you want to hear this, I don't know what will. Like I said, 2 albums. I do not own the second one, but you need to get it. And also, there's Eddie Jobson on electric violin, keyboards, and electronics. I don't know who Eddie Jobson is, but I imagine he is a known musician, but he's not known by me. This is 1978. That's what it looks like on the inside. Yeah, man. I mean, I'm never gonna really go into detail in discussing most prog albums because I'm just not that good at describing things, and I don't want to just look any more retarded than I already do. But all I can say is get both of these albums and you won't regret it. They're very fucking good. Like I said, just that lineup alone, if you haven't heard it, that you should already be on it. I don't know what else will. I'll just show this one briefly because I've shown this record way too many times in recent months, and I'm sure you guys are tired of hearing about it. But I love this record, man. It's actually one of my favorites of this band in general. Yes, 90125. Or 90125, yeah, I always say it wrong. But anyways, poppy, this is, you know, when they started going in the poppy direction. I can't remember if this is the first album for them to do that. It may not have been. This is 1983. I'm not really sure. But anyways, I really fucking love this album. I mean, yes, it's poppy, but there's some cool shit on here. The songwriting is strong. The musicianship is strong. I can't remember which song it is, but there's a track on here where Steve Howe plays a solo, and it was very clear that Steve was listening to some metal. It was like this just shredding solo, like something like Dave Mustaine would play. It was fucking like technical and manic. I love Steve Howe's playing, and oh my god, Steve Howe doesn't play on this album. I forgot. So never mind. I forgot. Man, where was he at this time? I forgot he backed out of the band for a little while. They had the lineup on this band was John Anderson, Chris Squire, Trevor Rabin, Alan White, and Tony Kaye. Fuck, I forgot about that. Anyways, man, I feel like an idiot. Anyways, yeah, well, I mean, it's a fucking good album, so fuck off. Don't judge me. I love it, man. I'm never gonna show it again, I promise. I'm done showing that album. You guys are sick of it. Even for those of you that only seen a few of my videos, in recent times, you've probably seen me show that, and I'm literally never going to show it again. All right. You'll also remember this from a recent update. If you saw that, yes, Tornado. I have not heard this album. There aren't very many Yes albums that I haven't heard. There's only a handful, a small handful. This is one of them. I got it pretty cheap at a local record shop. It's a 70s album still, 78. Yeah, 78. From general consensus, from what I've heard and what I've read, it's not a very good album. It's still kind of, they're still in their proggy phase, but they are kind of struggling to live up to the earlier classics on this one. Yeah, anyways, like I can't talk too much about it since I haven't heard it, but general consensus is it's maybe not horrible, but it's not great stacked up to their earlier works. Next, and final, this is the final record for today. This is a band I really dig, and yeah, I've only really recently got into this band in the last couple of years. In the last couple of years, I basically have listened to metal for almost my entire, I want to say my entire life, but, most of my life at this point. I've only really listened to like rock and metal. I got into music through like classic rock and hard rock stuff, AC/DC and Guns N' Roses, and once I discovered metal, I almost never listen to any rock anymore. But anyways, after so long of, it's not like I'm tired of metal, but after so long, and I got a little older, maybe a little more open-minded, I needed to start exploring other types of music. I didn't want to miss out on, whatever else the world had to offer. And so I've been doing that, and yeah, I really started liking stuff like Toto and Yes, and not that they're real similar bands, but anyways, I never thought, I heard, Toto stuff as a kid and on the radio and what have you, and I never liked it, and it just kind of happened. You change when you get older, I guess. I believe this is the debut Toto album, Hydra, I think, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, 70, what does that say, 77 or 79? I think it says 79. I had always thought this was their first album. I might be wrong, so don't hold me to that or anything. But yeah, this is a cool album. I like it. I like the first couple Toto albums. Very nice layout, by the way. Gatefold. It's only one LP, but yeah. Don't have a whole lot to say about this one, as I honestly haven't listened to it super extensively, but I don't know. I really like the first few Toto albums. They're kind of a hit and miss band with me, as in, I don't think they have an album where I really like, front to back. I mean, there's usually I can pick out a couple tracks that are pretty stunning in my mind, and then there are some that I find kind of, I don't want to say weak, but they just don't do it for me. Maybe too poppy, but they were a pop-oriented band, so I can't hold that against them. But I really, when they're on fire, I feel like I really dig their shit when they're on fire. When they're not, it's kind of boring to me. But I still feel like they're a cool band. Even their most recent album that came out, I always forget when this came out. Within the last 2 years, I think. I thought that album was fantastic. There were still a couple tracks on there that were hit or miss, at least for me, but I thought there were some fucking excellent songs on there. So anyways, I'm done rambling on about Toto. Most of you are not watching to hear me talk about shit like that, but it's part of who I am. So that's that. That's 10 records. Yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for stopping by. We'll talk soon. Cheers.